Have you ever walked into a room and immediately tried to figure out what kind of mood the other person was in? Before you said hello, you were already thinking, are they upset? Did I do something wrong? Should I say something or should I just keep quiet? You become an expert at reading the room. You watch their face, their voice, their body language. You choose your words carefully. You change your behavior and try not to make anything worse. And eventually, you realize something heartbreaking. You're not living in peace. You're living in anticipation of the next conflict. Welcome back to Healing Hearts with Melanie. Today we're talking about what happens when you start walking on eggshells in relationship. What does walking on eggshells really mean? Walking on eggshells means you're constantly trying to prevent someone's negative reaction. You don't feel free to simply be yourself. You're calculating. What should I say? What shouldn't I say? When should I bring this up? Is this the right time? Is this going to become another argument? And sometimes you become so good at avoiding conflict that you don't even realize how much you're carrying inside. I know this feeling. I experienced this in my own marriage, where there were times when I became very careful about what I said and what I did because I didn't want another argument. When someone is frequently finding fault, criticizing, or becoming angry, you eventually begin to anticipate it, and that's exhausting. Because instead of simply living your life, you're managing someone else's emotions. And I want to say something that took me a long time to understand. It is not your responsibility to control another adult's reaction. You can be respectful, you can communicate, you can choose your words carefully, but you cannot guarantee that another person will respond calmly. When keeping the peace isn't really peace, we often say, I'm just trying to keep the peace. But what does that actually mean? Sometimes it means I'm not going to say what I really feel. I'm going to let it go again. I'm going to apologize even though I don't believe I did anything wrong. I'm going to pretend I'm okay. I'm going to make myself smaller so this doesn't become a fight. That's not necessarily peace. Sometimes that's self-protection, and there's an important difference. The question I want you to ask yourself is, or think about your relationship. Do you feel comfortable saying, I disagree with you? Can you say, that hurts me? Can you say, I don't like the way you're speaking to me? Can you say, I need some time alone? Can you say no and still feel emotionally safe? Because being able to disagree without fearing retaliation is an important part of a healthy relationship. You should not have to earn safety. One of the biggest lessons I've learned is that love and emotional safety are not the same thing. Someone can say, I love you, and yet their behavior can still make you feel unsafe emotionally. That's why we have to pay attention not only to what someone says, but to how we consistently feel around them. Do you feel relaxed? Do you feel respected? Do you feel heard? Can you be playful, Can you make mistakes? Can you be sick? Can you have an opinion? Can you say no? Can you be yourself? And sometimes your body knows before your mind does. This is something I wish more people talked about. When you're constantly anticipating conflict, your body can stay tense. You may notice your shoulders are always tight. You're constantly thinking. You're having trouble relaxing. You're emotionally exhausted. You don't feel like talking. You don't want to be touched. You don't want intimacy. You just want peace. And sometimes you wonder, what's wrong with me? But maybe the better question is, what has my environment been asking my nervous system to do? And if you're ever lived with this, you know the ridiculous part. You become a relationship meteorologist. You're walking into the house thinking today's forecast, partly cloudy with a 70% chance of an argument. So you check the temperature, you study the face, you listen the voice, and you're thinking, okay, maybe I shouldn't mention the laundry. Sometimes we laugh about these things because if we didn't laugh, we'd cry. But underneath that humor is something serious. You shouldn't have to spend your life monitoring someone's mood. When you lose your voice, let's talk about this. The longer you walk on eggshells, the easier it becomes to stop expressing yourself. You stop bringing things up. You stop asking for what you need. You stop sharing your dreams. You stop explaining how you feel. And eventually, the relationship may look peaceful from the outside, but inside, you're disappearing. And that's why this conversation matters. Because silence isn't always harmony. Sometimes silence is a person who has become too tired to keep fighting to be heard. What healthy peace looks like. Healthy peace doesn't mean nobody ever gets angry. It doesn't mean couples never disagree. It means you can disagree without destroying each other. It means I'm angry but I still respect you. I don't agree but I'm listening. We need a break from this conversation but we'll come back to it. I don't like what happened but I'm not going to humiliate you. That's emotional maturity. That's partnership. That's what makes conflict an opportunity for growth rather than a weapon. There came a point in my life when the conflict became more than I could carry. There were things happening in my relationship that went beyond ordinary marital disagreements. And eventually, there was physical violence. That was the point when I called 911 for help. And I want to be very clear about something. Disagreements are normal. Abuse is not. You don't have to explain away violence you don't have to explain away violence because someone also loves you. You don't have to minimize it because you've shared years together. And you don't have to blame yourself for another person's decision to hurt you. If someone is hurting you or you feel unsafe, please prioritize your safety and reach out to appropriate support in your area. Before we end today's episode, I want you to sit with these questions. Do I feel free to speak honestly in my relationship? Am I constantly monitoring my partner's mood? What things have I stopped saying because I'm afraid of the reaction? Am I calling it keeping the peace when I'm actually abandoning my own needs? And the deepest question is, if I knew I wouldn't be punished, rejected, or attacked for telling the truth, what would I finally say? Don't rush your answer. Sometimes the truth needs a quiet place to come out. For many years, I thought keeping a relationship together meant trying harder, being more patient, giving more, forgiving more, explaining more. But I eventually learned a relationship cannot be held together by one person's effort alone. Two people have to participate. Two people have to communicate. Two people have to take responsibility. Two people have to care about how their actions affect the other person. And most importantly, both people deserve to feel safe being themselves. If you're listening today and you've been walking on eggshells, I want you to hear this. You deserve peace that doesn't require you to disappear. You deserve a relationship where you can speak, where you can disagree, where you can say no, where you can make mistakes, where you can be human, and where love doesn't require fear. Next time on Healing Hearts with Melanie, we're going to talk about something that often comes after walking on eggshells. When you stop asking for what you need, what happens when you've asked so many times and been disappointed so many times that eventually you simply stop asking? That's painful place, and it's one I know personally. We'll talk about it. Until then, take a deep breath, listen to your heart, and remember, keeping the peace should never require you to lose yourself. This is Healing Hearts with Melanie. Listen, heal, grow.